Funny, isn't it? How some messages don't leave you alone. They come once, quietly, like a whisper you can ignore, and when you do, they circle back, louder, sharper, like a voice echoing in the back of your mind saying, "You didn't listen the first time." And you start to wonder, was it coincidence, or was it something more? Maybe it's not the world trying to reach you. Maybe it's the truth, knocking again, asking if you're finally ready to hear it. Because messages like this, they don't chase everyone. Only the ones running from what they already know deep down. You ever notice how life doesn't move on just because you do? You can try to outrun the past, distract yourself, fill your days with noise, pretend the lesson wasn't for you, but somehow it always finds a way back. The faces change, the places change, but the pattern stays. Like a song on repeat, haunting you until you finally stop and listen to the lyrics. That's the thing about lessons. You don't get to skip them. You can ignore them, sure, you can laugh them off, push them aside, drown them under excuses and denial, but life doesn't forget. It waits. Patiently. Until you're too tired to fake it anymore. And then, it hands you the same scenario again, like a teacher sliding a test back across the desk saying, "Try again." People love to call it bad luck. They love to say, "Why does this always happen to me?" But it's not luck, it's law. You repeat what you refuse to resolve. Life doesn't punish you. It mirrors you. Every unresolved emotion, every pattern you avoid, every truth you suppress, it all shows up again and again, dressed in different forms, until you finally face it. The one who betrayed you last time, they come back in a new body, with a sweeter smile. The opportunity you ruined out of fear. It shows up again, just to see if you'll finally step up this time. The chaos, the disappointment, the heartbreak, it's not random. It's a mirror. A reflection of the part of you that still hasn't learned what it needs to. You can't evolve by escaping. You evolve by enduring. Every situation you run from is an unfinished conversation between you and your own soul. And life, it's patient. It'll keep replaying the same lesson until you answer. The timing changes, the cast changes, but the message stays the same: grow. Wake up. Stop pretending you don't see the signs. That's why the same problems keep knocking at your door. They're not here to hurt you. They're here to help you, to stretch you, to remind you that progress doesn't come from comfort. It comes from confrontation. Most people don't want to hear that. They want new results without new behavior. They want peace without honesty. They want blessings without accountability. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get promoted from a test you didn't pass. You don't move to the next chapter by rereading the last one. That's why some people feel stuck. They keep rewriting the same story, expecting a different ending. But the truth is simple. Until you learn the lesson, the cycle continues. Until you face the pain persists. Until you stop blaming others, the same situations will keep finding you, wearing different faces, but carrying the same message. You ever wonder why certain moments feel familiar, like déjà vu? It's not magic, it's memory. It's life reminding you, we've been here before. The feeling, the decision, the mistake. You've walked this road. The question is, will you keep walking in circles, or will you finally take a turn? Because every lesson comes with two doors: repeat or rise. Most people choose repeat because it's familiar. Familiar pain feels safer than unknown freedom. But that's how you trap yourself in a loop, choosing comfort over change, even when that comfort is slowly destroying you. The truth is, the universe doesn't get tired of teaching, but you should get tired of suffering. Every time you say, I'll never let that happen again, and still let it happen, life watches. It waits. It gives you another chance to prove you mean it. Because growth isn't about words. It's about patterns. Anyone can talk about healing, but healing shows in your choices, in the way you react differently to the same situation. In the moment you finally say, no more, that's the moment the cycle ends. Not because the world changes, but because you do. And deep down, you always know when you're being tested again. It's that strange feeling in your chest, that flicker of recognition, when life starts looking a little too familiar. The same type of person walks into your life. The same kind of opportunity appears. The same temptation whispers your name. And you already know what happens if you say yes again. But sometimes you still do, because part of you hopes this time it'll be different. It won't. Not until you are. That's the lesson hidden beneath the repetition. Life isn't cruel, it's consistent. It's not punishing you, it's reminding you. You keep getting the same lesson not because you're unlucky, but because you're important enough not to be left behind. The message won't stop coming until you understand it. The pain won't stop burning until it wakes you. That's the law of growth. What you avoid controls you. What you face frees you. And somewhere deep inside, you already know exactly what life's been trying to tell you. You've heard it before. Maybe whispered it to yourself late at night. You've felt it tugging at you when you repeat the same mistakes, when you see the same endings play out, when you feel the same emptiness after ignoring your intuition. That's the message trying to reach you again. And it won't stop knocking until you open the door and finally let it in. Funny thing about messages, they never really stop coming, do they? You think you missed your chance, you think it's over, but somehow, just when you've started to forget, it shows up again, like a whisper in the dark, tapping on the walls of your mind. The same feeling, the same sign, the same quiet pull that says, hey, we're not done yet. Most people don't even notice. They think it's coincidence. They think life's just being weird again. But nothing repeats itself by accident. When a message comes back a second time, it's not persistence. It's mercy. It's the universe giving you another shot at what you ignored the first time. Another chance to see what you were too distracted, too broken, too stubborn to see. You see, when something is meant for you, it doesn't give up easily. It circles back. It waits in the background. It watches you stumble through the noise, through all the things you thought would fix you. until it knows you're finally quiet enough to listen. That's when it comes again. Not louder, not grander, but clearer. Because sometimes clarity doesn't scream, it repeats. The second message is softer, but sharper. It cuts through the fog of your routine, through the lies you tell yourself to stay comfortable, and it asks one simple question. Did you get it this time? People underestimate the weight of divine timing. They think missed moments are gone forever, but that's not always true. Sometimes what's meant for you pauses, waits just outside the door, waiting for you to grow into the kind of person who can handle it. You weren't ready before. You would have ruined it. You would have thrown it away because you were still holding on to pain, still clinging to your old version of yourself. But now you've been through the fire. Now you understand loss. Now you know what it feels like to watch something slip away because you didn't appreciate it. And that pain, that regret, it carved you into someone stronger, someone who won't waste it this time. That's why the message came back. Because you finally are who you were supposed to be when it arrived the first time. The funny part is, people call it coincidence when something happens twice. But deep down, they know better. They feel it in their chest. That strange sense of familiarity. That chill that runs down their spine. That whisper in their head saying, this moment means something. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. Life doesn't repeat itself for no reason. It's repeating because there's something unfinished, something you still need to hear or do or change. The second message doesn't show up to entertain you. It shows up to rescue you, to realign you, to drag you out of the comfort that's quietly killing you. You ever ignore something small, only to have it explode later? That's how life works. The first message is a whisper. The second one, it's a warning. It's life saying, hey, this time, pay attention. Because the more you ignore it, the louder the lesson becomes. The people who never listen end up learning the hard way. They call it tragedy, but it's not. It's delayed understanding. You can't say you weren't warned. You just didn't want to hear it. That's why the same pain finds you twice. The same type of person, the same heartbreak, the same betrayal. It's all connected to the message you refused to open the first time it was sent. But the beauty in the second message, it means grace still exists. It means you're still on the timeline where redemption is possible. You still have a shot to make things right, to make a different choice, to finally listen to what your soul's been trying to tell you. The universe doesn't give second messages to everyone. Some people miss their first and final chance in one breath. But if this message came back for you, it means something. It means there's still a purpose attached to your name. It means you're still being called. Even if you've fallen, even if you've failed. You know what's funny? Most people only start listening when they're desperate, when everything else has fallen apart, when they're tired of pretending, when they've tried every path except the one they were meant to take. That's when the second message finally makes sense. Because the first time, it felt confusing. The second time, it feels necessary. The first time, you doubted it. The second time, you feel it. That's how you know it's real. The same words, the same sign. But this time, your soul reacts differently. It's not just a message anymore. It's a calling. And maybe that's why it had to come again. Because now you're not the same person who received it before. The version of you who ignored it back then is gone. You've blood. You've lost. You've grown. You've learned how fragile life is, how fast things can change, how quickly people disappear. So this time you're paying attention. This time it hits different. This time it's not just another message. It's the one that changes everything. That's the quiet irony of life. It keeps trying to save you from yourself. It keeps sending the same truth in different forms, hoping one of them finally breaks through your stubbornness. And when it does, you'll realize it was never random. The signs, the timing, the words, they were all orchestrated to reach you when you were finally ready to receive them. Because sometimes, the second time isn't just a repeat. It's the beginning of understanding what the first one really meant. You ever notice how some people think they can outrun what's meant for them? They build walls, they change cities, they distract themselves with noise, with faces, with meaningless victories, just to escape something that keeps following them like a shadow. But fate doesn't chase you because it's desperate. It waits. It's patient. It knows exactly when to strike. You can bury yourself in new habits, new lies, new people. But you can't bury what's written for you. You can ignore it, mock it, pretend you don't see the signs, but it's always there, lingering at the corner of your vision, whispering when you're alone, visiting you in dreams you pretend not to remember. Because what's meant for you isn't fragile, it's inevitable. You can run sure. You can scream that you're not ready. You can try to rewrite your story. But the funny part, the story always finds its way back to the original script. That's the part that breaks people. The realization that all along, it wasn't the world standing in their way. It was them, their fear, their pride, their refusal to listen when life tried to guide them gently. So life stopped whispering. It started shaking things up, taking things away, pushing them to the edge, not to destroy them, but to make them move. Because if comfort didn't wake you up, pain will. There's a pattern to it all, you know. The same lesson keeps returning until you learn it. The same kind of person keeps showing up until you recognize the reflection they hold of you. The same opportunities slip through your fingers until you finally learn how to hold on. Life doesn't punish you. It prepares you. It repeats the cycle until you understand the rhythm. But most people are too busy cursing their misfortune to realize the blessing hiding inside it. They cry about what left, not realizing it had to go so something better could take its place. They call it loss, but it's alignment. They call it rejection, but it's protection. You see, the second time around isn't supposed to look like the first. It's not a rerun. It's a test. Life's way of asking, did you grow from what broke you? Because if you didn't, it'll break you again, just harder. People think pain means something went wrong. But maybe pain is the only thing that goes right. Maybe it's the only language the soul understands when it refuses to listen to reason. The cracks in your heart, that's not weakness. That's how the light gets in. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every sleepless night, it's shaping you into the kind of person who can finally carry the thing you've been praying for. But here's the problems. People want blessings, not growth. They want miracles, not lessons. They want the light without walking through the fire. That's not how it works. Before life gives you something, it tests if you're ready to keep it. It doesn't hand you gold while you're still comfortable losing silver. So when things fall apart, when you feel like everything's slipping, it's not punishment. It's a reset. The second message, the second chance, the second storm, it's all part of the cleansing. It strips away everything fake, so only what's real can remain. You don't see it while it's happening, because pain blinds you. But when the smoke clears, when you're standing in the ashes of what used to be, you'll realize that the fire didn't destroy you. It refined you. Ever notice how the second time you experience something painful, it doesn't hurt in the same way? It cuts deeper, but cleaner. It doesn't confuse you anymore. It clarifies you. Because this time you understand. You've been here before, and now you see through the illusions. You see who's real and who was pretending. You see what's temporary and what's eternal. That's what wisdom looks like. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about recognizing its purpose. The second time life brings you to your knees, it's not humiliation. It's transformation. And yet, people keep asking, why me? As if the world has something against them. Maybe it's not a why me. Maybe it's fair why not yet. Maybe the delay isn't denial. It's preparation. Maybe the reason life made you wait, the reason it sent you the same message twice, is because what's coming is too heavy for who you were before. You needed to be sharpened by disappointment, grounded by solitude, humbled by loss. You needed to learn what to value, who to trust, what to fight for. Because when the blessing arrives this time, you won't fumble it. You'll protect it. You'll recognize it for what it is, because you paid for it in tears. The irony is, people don't realize how divine repetition really is. They think it's stagnation, but it's synchronization. The universe doesn't send mixed signals. It sends consistent ones until you stop doubting. That's why the message came again. Not because you missed it, but because now you can handle it. This is your second reminder that destiny doesn't give up just because you did. The call didn't end when you ignored it. It was just waiting for you to be ready to answer. And when you finally do, when you stop running, stop resisting, stop pretending you don't hear it, that's when everything starts making sense. Every delay, every detour, every downfall, it all becomes clear. Because the truth is, the second message isn't about what's being sent. It's about who you've become since the first one was ignored. And maybe, just maybe, That's all life was waiting for. You ever wonder why silence gets so loud right before something big happens? Like the world is holding its breath, waiting for you to finally see what it's been trying to show you all along. There's a stillness before change, a strange calm that feels like peace but tastes like warning. People mistake it for nothingness. They think nothing's happening, that life's quieted down because the storm's over. But what if that silence is the eye of the storm? What if it's not peace, but preparation? That's the trap. Most people stop paying attention right when life starts speaking the loudest. They get comfortable. They think the danger's past. But that's when the real shift begins. See, life doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes the signs aren't in explosions or heartbreaks, but in little things. Missed calls, tired eyes, strange coincidences, people leaving without explanation. You brush it off, call it random. But deep down, you feel it. The unease, the restlessness, that tension that sits heavy on your chest for no reason. That's not anxiety, it's awareness. Something inside you knows that change is crawling closer, even when you can't see it yet. The universe doesn't send you thunder without first flickering the lights. But most people ignore the flicker. And then they wonder why they were struck blind when lightning hit. You can sense when your life's about to turn. The air feels different. You start losing interest in the same people, same habits, same noise. It's not depression, it's detachment. The old version of you is falling apart quietly, piece by piece, because it can't cross into what's next. The people who used to understand, you start sounding foreign. The things you loved start feeling empty, and you start craving solitude. Not because you're broken, but because your soul needs silence to realign. That's how transformation begins. Not with applause, but with discomfort. Not with joy, but with confusion. Funny thing, most people resist this phase. They call it bad luck. They panic. Try to glue their life back together. They chase old connections, beg for clarity. Look for meaning in people who've already served their purpose. They think the silence means abandonment. But the truth, the silence is sacred. It's life unplugging you from distractions so you can finally hear what's real. You're not being left behind. You're being pulled forward. But people can't stand stillness. They'd rather suffer in noise than heal in quiet. There's a reason why everything feels like it's falling apart right before it all falls into place. Because destruction and creation wear the same mask. One tears down what's fake, the other builds what's real. You can't have both at once. That's why things get stripped from you. Your comfort, your illusions, your control. Not because life's cruel, but because it's clearing space for what's meant for you. It's like cleaning out a wound before it can heal. It stings, but it saves you. But people don't see that. They cling to the pain because it's familiar. They beg life to let them keep what's killing them. You start realizing how blind you've been when you stop trying to force things. When you finally surrender, the pieces start moving on their own. You see why certain people had to leave. Why things had to break, why timing never worked before. Because back then, you were still trying to play God with your destiny. You wanted control over something that was never yours to begin with. But now you're learning to trust the chaos. You're learning that not knowing is part of the plan. That the silence isn't empty. It's full of answers you're not ready to hear yet. Sometimes life doesn't move you forward with clarity. It moves you with confusion. It doesn't give you instructions. It gives you impulses. That gut feeling that won't leave you alone. That dream that keeps repeating. That person you can't explain your connection to. That's not coincidence. That's divine orchestration. It's the invisible hand rearranging your path while you're busy trying to make sense of it. And when you fight it, you delay it. But when you finally stop resisting, you notice something. You're not lost anymore. You're being led. But the funny part, most people only realize this after they've broken. After they've tried everything else. After they've been forced to face themselves. Pain does that. It cleans your vision. It makes you see who's fake, what's real, and what truly matters. It burns away the noise until all that's left is truth. And that truth is never loud. It's quiet, steady, unshakable. That's the kind of peace people spend their whole lives chasing. The kind that doesn't come from control, but from surrender. You ever think about how nothing ever really leaves until you've learned what it came to teach you? Every heartbreak, every failure, every delay, it's all part of the same conversation. The universe doesn't waste time repeating itself unless you missed the point the first time. That's why the silence feels heavier now. It's not new, it's familiar. It's the same message returning, louder this time. Not to punish you, but to remind you. To make sure you don't sleep through your own awakening again. Because deep down, you know this isn't just another phase. This is the pause before everything changes. This is the quiet before the explosion. The moment before the curtain lifts and the real show begins. You can feel it, can't you? The pull, the weight, the electricity in the air. Something's coming. Something's shifting. The signs are everywhere. You just have to stop pretending not to see them. You ever notice how life turns up the pressure right before something good happens? It's almost like it wants to see what you're made of before it hands you what you've been asking for. Pressure exposes truth. It strips away the polite smiles, the fake patience, the rehearsed confidence. It reveals who you are when comfort is gone, when plans fall apart, when silence is the only answer you get. That's when masks melt, and the real version of you steps out, trembling maybe, but honest. And that's the one life rewards. Not the version pretending everything's fine, but the one still standing in the fire, refusing to give up even when it hurts to breathe. Pressure is the great separator. It divides the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the believers. Everyone wants to win until it costs them comfort. Everyone says they trust until they're forced to wait. That's when the truth shows. That's when your faith isn't just a word. It's a choice you have to make over and over again. even when everything around you says you're wrong to keep going. C. Pressure doesn't destroy people. It reveals their foundation. If you're built on ego, you'll crumble. If you're built on purpose, you'll rise. People think blessings come wrapped in peace. They don't. They come disguised as battles. Because peace doesn't shape you, resistance does. You don't grow when it's easy. You grow when it hurts. When everything you planned falls apart, and yet, somehow, you still show up. That's pressure. It's life's way of asking, do you really mean it? Everyone says they want more, but few are willing to endure the breaking that comes before it. Pressure isn't punishment. It's proof you're close. You're being tested because you're trusted. The weight isn't there to crush you. It's there to crown you. You see, people fold under pressure because they think it's unfair. They look around and see others smiling, succeeding, and they wonder, why me? Why is it always hard for me? But what if the struggle is a compliment? What if the weight you carry is a sign you're strong enough to hold it? Life doesn't test the weak. It already knows they'll fall. It tests the one. Strange, isn't it? How a single moment can carry the weight of everything you've ever done. You go through your day pretending tomorrow is guaranteed. Making plans, chasing noise, scrolling through life as if time owes you something. But what if tonight it doesn't? What if at 1:11 a.m. the curtain falls? No warning. No second chances. Just silence. Would you still waste your energy on people who don't care? Would you still swallow your truth just to keep others comfortable? Would you still scroll past your purpose because you're too afraid to face it? People talk about death like it's some faraway concept. A thing that happens in movies. In hospitals, in quiet corners of other people's lives. They speak about it as if it's polite enough to knock, as if it waits until you're done chasing your dreams or fixing your mistakes. But death doesn't wait. It doesn't schedule appointments. It doesn't care about your to-do list, your bills, your deadlines, or your future plans. It arrives exactly when it's meant to, whether you're ready or not. And that's what makes it the greatest reminder. The only thing powerful to strip away the lies and force you to see what truly matters. When you realize you might not wake up tomorrow, everything changes. The noise fades. The drama loses its flavor. Suddenly, the things that made you angry yesterday feel ridiculous. The arguments, the grudges, the envy, they all look small, pathetic even. Because when you remember that you're temporary, you start paying attention to what's eternal. The warmth of someone's laugh, the silence of peace, the feeling of purpose when you do something real. That's what matters. Not the followers, not the fame, not the fake validation that disappears faster than it came. Death doesn't scare people because it's painful. It scares them because it's honest. It doesn't lie. It doesn't pretend. It exposes everything you've been hiding behind. It takes away your masks, your titles, your excuses, and leaves you with one question: did you live? Not survive, not exist, but live, with intention, with heart, with meaning. And most people can't answer yes, because they were too busy pretending they had time. You see, the truth about time is cruel. It moves whether you notice or not. Every breath, every blink, every lazy day spent waiting for the right moment is a piece of your life quietly slipping away. You think you have years to figure things out, to fix yourself, to become who you're meant to be. But time doesn't wait for realization. It keeps ticking, merciless, indifferent. And when it runs out, that's it. Game over. There are no reruns, no do-overs. No, maybe tomorrow. But that's the beauty of it. The fact that it ends is what gives it meaning. If life went on forever, nothing would matter. You wouldn't value love because it could wait. You wouldn't chase dreams because you'd always have another chance. You wouldn't apologize, forgive, or change because there'd be no urgency. Death gives life its sharpness, its depth, its clarity. It's the silent whisper behind every decision that says, "You better make this count." Most people avoid thinking about it because it makes them uncomfortable. They fill their lives with distractions. Endless scrolling, endless talking, endless running, just to avoid the silence where that truth lives. But deep down, they feel it. Every quiet night when the world slows down. Every time they stare at the ceiling and feel that hollow ache in their chest. That's death reminding them that their time is running out, not to scare them, to wake them, to make them realize that the only tragedy isn't dying. It's dying without ever having lived. You've seen people who are already dead long before their heart stops, walking through life like ghosts, trapped in routines, shackled by fear, strangled by the opinions of others. They laugh without joy, work without purpose, breathe without passion. They're alive, technically, but empty. Because somewhere along the line, they traded living for existing. They gave up their fire just to fit in. And when death finally comes for them, it won't even have to do much. It'll just collect what's already been lost. But those who truly live, they're different. They walk with intention. They love without conditions. They say what they mean, take chances, make mistakes, and don't apologize for being real. They understand that every sunrise is a gift, not a guarantee. They live like they're running out of time because, well, they are. And that's what makes them alive. The awareness of the end gives every moment weight, every choice meaning, every heartbeat purpose. Death isn't the enemy, it's the mirror. It's the only thing that shows you how small your worries are, how fragile your grudges, how foolish your pride. It teaches you that nothing is truly yours. Not the money, not the power, not even the people. Everything you have is borrowed, and one day it'll all be taken back. So what's left when it's gone? What you built inside, the love you gave, the truth you spoke, the leaves you touched. That's the only thing death can't take. Most people don't get it until it's too late, until they're staring at hospital walls, holding hands that won't squeeze back, replaying 1,000 what-ifs in their head. But you don't have to wait for that moment. You can wake up now. You can live like you mean it. You can stop chasing the meaningless and start holding on to the real. Because when the time finally comes, and it will, you won't be asking for more minutes. You'll just want to know you used the ones you had like they mattered. People think they have control over their destiny. They plan, they calculate, they make lists of dreams as if the universe is some obedient servant waiting for their next command. But what they never understand is that life doesn't follow their schedule. It's not impressed by their plans. It doesn't care about their comfort, their expectations, or their sense of fairness. Life moves on its own terms, wild, unpredictable, merciless, and sometimes it whispers before it strikes. Sometimes it gives you a sign, a strange feeling in your chest, a cold shiver in the night, a sudden silence in your thoughts, as if something beyond this world is trying to speak to you. But most people ignore it. They're too busy chasing noise to hear the warning in the quiet. You've felt it before, haven't you? That strange pull, that chill in the air that tells you something's coming. You don't know what it is, but you feel it crawling beneath your skin, brushing against your soul. Maybe it happens at 1:11 a.m. when the world is asleep and your mind is too tired to lie to you. That's when truth knocks. That's when the veil between what is and what could be becomes thin enough to see through. And for a moment, you realize how fragile everything really is. One moment you're breathing, laughing, existing, and the next, silence. Just like that. No warning, no second chances. Just the end. People waste their lives waiting for signs that are already screaming in their faces. They ask for miracles, but when they come, they call them coincidences. They ask for purpose, but when life shakes them awake, they call it bad luck. You see, the universe doesn't always give you what you want. It gives you what you need. And sometimes what you need feels like chaos, like loss, like pain that rips through your chest until you see things clearly again. Because clarity doesn't come from comfort. It comes from the edge, from staring at the line between life and death and realizing how thin it really is. You think you're going to live forever, don't you? You think that tomorrow will always be there waiting for you, that you'll have time to fix things, to say sorry, to change, to love harder, to chase your dreams. But what if there's no tomorrow? What if tonight is your last night? What if that clock strikes 1:11 and instead of another chance, it's your curtain call? Would you still waste your time being afraid? Would you still hide behind excuses, behind comfort, behind fear of failure? Or would you finally do the thing you've been too scared to do? Live like you mean it. Most people die long before their bodies give up. They die the day they stop trying, the day they settle for less, the day they stop believing something greater exists beyond their pain. They become shadows, predictable, safe, silent. But life was never meant to be safe. It was meant to be electric, unstable, alive. You were meant to feel every emotion, to take risks, to fall, to rise again, to dance in the chaos of it all. That's what being alive means. Not surviving, but living with fire in your soul. There's something poetic about endings. They terrify people, but they're the most honest part of life. When you're standing at the edge, when you know time is running out, everything fake burns away. You stop pretending. You stop lying to yourself. The masks drop, and what's left is raw. The truth of who you really are. That's the moment people finally see themselves. But by then, it's too late. They see all the things they could have done, all the words they never said, all the love they never gave. They see the smallness of their fears and the waste of their pride. You don't need to wait for that final moment to understand. You can see it now. Every second you spend trapped in regret or hesitation is a second stolen from your soul. Every time you hold back your truth, you shrink. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you die a little. The world doesn't need more people who play it safe. It needs people who are awake, who look at the darkness and still choose to move through it. People who understand that death isn't a punishment, it's a reminder that this breath, this moment, this heartbeat is a gift. So when that hour comes, when the world is silent and the clock hits 1:11, listen, not with your ears, with your soul. Listen to what life is trying to tell you. Maybe it's warning you. Maybe it's blessing you. Maybe it's giving you one last chance to wake up before the lights go out. Whatever it is, don't ignore it. Because that moment, that strange, quiet second when time seems to stop, might be the universe whispering the truth you've been running from all along. That nothing is promised, nothing is owned, and every moment you waste pretending otherwise is one you'll never get back. People love to act like they've got it all figured out. They wear their fake smiles, their polite words, their carefully curated lives like armor, hoping no one will see the cracks beneath it all. But deep down they're tired, exhausted. They keep pretending everything's fine when it isn't. They keep saying they're happy, while something inside them keeps screaming. You can see it in their eyes. That quiet desperation, that flicker of pain they're trying to bury under small talk and routine. And the funniest part, they think no one notices. They think the world is too busy to care. But the truth is, the world sees. It just doesn't care either. Everyone's too wrapped up in their own chaos to reach out a hand. So they keep walking through their days, hollow, numb, convincing themselves that this emptiness is normal. They wake up, they scroll, they eat, they work, they lie down again, repeat. They chase after things that don't matter, hoping something, shiny thing, will fill the hole inside them. But nothing does. Not money, not fame, not people. Because you can't fill a spiritual wound with material junk. You can't heal an inner death by pretending it's life. But that's what they do. Build their entire existence on distractions so they never have to face the silence within. You know the silence I'm talking about, don't you? That eerie stillness at night when your thoughts get too loud. When your chest feels heavy and you can't quite explain why. You try to drown it with noise. Music, TV, another drink, another text. But it keeps finding you. It always does. Because that silence isn't your enemy. It's truth trying to reach you. It's the part of you that's still alive, trying to remind you that you're not living right now. You're surviving. There's a difference. Surviving is mechanical. It's the body moving while the soul sleeps. Living is raw, wild, unpredictable. It demands honesty. It demands you face yourself. And most people can't handle that. They fear themselves more than they fear death. Because death is final. But facing your own reflection, that's torture. Seeing the version of yourself that you've buried under excuses, under other people's opinions, under years of self-doubt. That's the real horror. You start realizing how much time you've wasted pretending to be someone else. How many times you stayed silent when you should have screamed. How many moments of love you let pass because you were too afraid to look foolish. And then it hits you. All that pain you blamed on the world. It was you. You kept choosing fear over truth. But here's the twist. It's not too late. Pain isn't punishment. It's the invitation. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, every heartbreak, it's life trying to pull you back to yourself, trying to wake you up. But instead of listening, you label it as bad luck. You pray for comfort instead of transformation. You beg to go back to sleep when the universe is begging you to wake up. You keep saying, "Why me?" instead of asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" And that's where people miss it. They mistake the storm for cruelty, when in reality it's cleansing. Life has this funny way of breaking you, right where you've built the most walls. It tears open the places you thought were safe, not to destroy you, but to free you. The pain isn't random. It's targeted. It's precise. It's trying to burn away the version of you that was never real. The version that settled. The version that feared judgment. The version that lived for approval. And you can either keep fighting that fire, or you can let it consume everything false, so that something true can rise from the ashes. You see, there's a shift that happens when you finally stop running. When you stop trying to control every outcome and just feel. That's when you realize how strong you actually are. Not because you never broke, but because you broke and kept going. You stopped searching for light outside and started realizing it was always in you. That's what this pain was trying to show you all along. Not that you were weak, but that you were powerful enough to rebuild yourself from nothing. That you didn't need saving. You needed awakening. Most people will never get there because they're too attached to their pain. They wear it like a badge. They love their suffering because it gives them identity. They don't want to let it go because without it, they'd have to start over. And that's terrifying, but that's what freedom demands. You can't carry your past and your purpose at the same time. One has to die for the other to live. And when you finally decide to let go of the story, of the mask, of the fear, everything changes. That's when life stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like poetry. That's when you stop existing and start becoming. You don't chase peace anymore. You avar, peace. You don't beg for meaning. You create it. And the funny thing, Once you get there, you realize it was never about the world owing you something. It was about you finally showing up for yourself. Because the moment you do that, the world stops being your enemy and starts being your mirror. It reflects exactly who you are. And if you found truth inside, you'll finally see it outside too. Everywhere you look, people are obsessed with time. Counting it, chasing it, wasting it. They talk about tomorrow, like it's a guarantee, like the sun rises just for them. They build their dreams on the assumption that they'll wake up again. They make promises they don't keep, plans they'll never live to see, and apologies they'll never give. It's almost funny how they treat life like it's on a loop, as if they can press replay whenever they want. But the truth, there's no replay button. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care if you're ready. It just ticks, slowly, cruelly, constantly, until one day it doesn't. You've seen it happen, haven't you? Someone's there, one moment laughing, breathing, full of plans, and the next, gone, just like that. Their phone's still buzzing with unread messages. Their bed still warm, their unfinished dreams left hanging in the air. And what does everyone say? Life is short. But they don't mean it. They say it like a quote, not a warning. Because if they really believed that, they'd live differently. They'd stop waiting for the right time and realize this is the time. They'd stop hiding behind fear, stop playing safe, stop letting their potential rot inside them. But they don't, because people always believe they have more time, until they don't. It's strange how comfortable people get with wasting something they can never get back. They waste hours overthinking, waste days pleasing others, waste years waiting for permission to be themselves. They trade their purpose for approval, their truth for comfort. They build their lives around what looks good instead of what feels right. And when the years pass, when their reflection starts to look unfamiliar, they panic. They call it a midlife crisis, but really, it's just regret catching up. All the versions of themselves they could have been, haunting them, whispering, "You were meant for more." People think they're afraid of failure, but that's not true. What they're really afraid of is success, the kind that demands change, the kind that strips you of excuses. Because success means facing your fears, your flaws, your potential. And that's uncomfortable, so they delay it. They say, "I'll start next week. When I'm ready. When the time is right." But the time is never right. Life doesn't wait for you to be comfortable. It moves whether you do or not. Every moment you hesitate, time laughs. Because while you're busy planning, it's already gone. You ever notice how people live like they're immortal until tragedy touches them? One accident, one diagnosis, one goodbye, and suddenly everything shifts. They start saying things like, "I want to live more intentionally. I want to spend more time with loved ones." But it always takes pain to wake them up. It always takes loss to remind them that everything they take for granted is temporary. Why do people need to lose everything before they learn to value it? Why do they wait for death to understand life? Maybe it's because people are terrified of truth. They can't handle how fragile existence really is. They distract themselves with noise, scrolling, gossip, endless consumption. Anything to avoid facing the silence that reminds them how fleeting it all is. But no matter how loud the distractions get, the truth always finds a way to whisper. Every ticking clock, every sunset, every sleepless night. It's all a reminder you're running out of time. Not in a morbid way, but in a real one, because every second that passes is one less you'll ever get. The irony is, time doesn't kill people. Ignorance does. The refusal to live while you still can. The refusal to take risks, to love deeply, to dream wildly. People die long before their bodies do. They stop growing, stop feeling, stop believing. They become ghosts with beating hearts, present but not alive. And the world keeps spinning, indifferent. That's the cruel beauty of it all. Time keeps moving, even when you don't. But here's the thing. When you finally understand the value of a single moment, everything changes. You stop rushing. You stop pretending. You start noticing things again. The sound of your breath, the warmth of sunlight, the way someone's eyes soften when they laugh. You start realizing that the small moments are the big ones. That the miracle isn't in some distant future. It's in this second. Right here. Right now. And when you see life that way, fear loses its grip. You stop being afraid of what might happen because you're too busy appreciating what is happening. You stop living for someday and start living for today. You stop existing in the shadow of what if and start stepping into what now. And suddenly, time doesn't feel like a thief anymore. It feels like a gift, fragile, fleeting, and worth everything. But most people will never reach that understanding. They'll keep racing toward some imaginary finish line, thinking happiness is waiting there. They'll never realize happiness was always walking beside them, quietly, patiently, waiting for them to slow down and notice. Because time doesn't demand speed. It demands presence. It doesn't want you to move faster. It wants you to wake up. To stop sleepwalking through the only life you'll ever get. Every tick of the clock is asking you a question. Are you living? Or are you waiting? And maybe, just maybe, that's the real difference between those who find peace and those who never do. Some people chase time. Others feel it. And when you finally feel it, when you finally grasp how precious each moment is, you don't just survive anymore. You exist fully, raw, awake, unapologetically alive. It's strange how truth works. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't chase you, it waits. It sits quietly behind every mistake, every heartbreak, every sleepless night, just watching. Waiting for you to finally stop running, because that's what most people do. They run from the truth like it's the enemy. They'd rather live in illusion than face the raw, uncomfortable honesty that might actually set them free. People lie to themselves so beautifully. They tell themselves they're fine, that they're happy, that everything's under control. They say it so many times they start to believe it. Until something happens, Something cracks the illusion, and suddenly, the truth floods in like cold water. And when that happens, oh, it's not gentle. Truth never arrives politely. It comes crashing down, tearing apart everything you thought you knew. It exposes the people who pretended to love you, the choices you made out of fear, the dreams you abandoned because someone told you they were unrealistic. It doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your pride. It only cares about one thing: freedom. Because truth doesn't exist to make you feel safe. It exists to make you real. And being real, that's something most people will never experience. They wear masks, layers upon layers of them, just to fit into a world that doesn't even know itself. They play roles, follow trends, change their beliefs to match the crowd. They speak with borrowed opinions, love with half a heart, and call that living. But inside, they're hollow. You can see it in their eyes. That dullness, that absence of spark. It's not because life was cruel. It's because they chose to silence their truth for too long. Every time you bite your tongue when you should speak, every time you settle for less than you deserve, every time you pretend not to care, you bury a piece of your soul, and one day, you wake up and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. Truth hurts because it demands death, the death of illusion. It kills everything false inside you, everything weak, everything pretending. But that's the beauty of it. Because what remains after the pain is something pure, something solid, something unshakable, the kind of peace that can't be faked. That's why people fear it. Because truth strips away everything they hide behind. It leaves them naked, vulnerable, exposed. But it's also the only place where freedom exists.